Are you ready to throw a bone party? I'm ready to throw a bone party. What's up, everyone? It's Bones here. The last time that we showed off Konami's Memento to the Yugi boomers on the channel, I basically went all in, thinking that we'd get a big ban list, and at that time, I'm not even sure if the release date for the set was confirmed. So for this video, I'll be adjusting accordingly. I'll be leaving a link down below for more combos and deck profiles that are still very relevant for this video, while this video will serve as a refresher and an extension to the previous one. Anyways, if you're a fan of in-depth combo videos, new set coverage, and occasional fun stuff that we like to do on the channel, don't forget to utterly destroy those thumbs up and subscribe buttons. Now, for this first one, we're going to be starting with Dark Blade, and this is a cool card that upon its normal or special summoned, it gives you spell and trap removal on your opponent's side of the field as long as you discard a Memento card, but then it also has the ability to destroy itself while on the field so that you can Lone Flyer Blossom another Memento card from your deck, in which this case we'll be getting ourselves the Fairy Witch. This is another card that allows you to get more consistency as it's basically just a Stratos for the deck, but then it also has another cool effect that allows you to destroy a Memento monster that you control, and then you can revive a Memento monster from your graveyard, giving you some added plays that the deck can do. As long as it's level 2 or lower, keep that in mind, but we're going to get ourselves the level 5 Zebra, and then we're going to use its effect, which will allow us to special summon it since we do control a Memento card or no other face-up card. So keep in mind, as long as you don't have any other face-up monsters or they're just Mementos, you can special summon it out by activating its effect. Then we're going to use its effect, which will allow us to send monsters up to level 5 as long as they're Memento monsters, and in this case we're going to send the Goblin. We'll then be able to send the other level 1, I forget the name, Mace, and then we have the Fairy Witch, which is level 3, so 3, 4, and 5, and this one is basically a hand trap that during your opponent's main phase, if you control the big Memento, the Nether Skull Dragon, quick effect, you can discard this card, then target face-up monster your opponent controls, you take control of it until the end phase. Then during the main phase, you can destroy one Memento monster you control, and if you do, Stratos a card from your deck to your hand. So basically another consistency card, which is really nice, and it allows this deck to have a lot of 1/1.5 card combos, making it very consistent. The only thing it's really lacking is end board power, in my opinion, as you'll see momentarily. So we're now going to be able to use the effect of the Fairy Witch, as we'll get back the Goblin, and the Goblin is going to be one of the more important cards that you have in this archetype, just because along with the Mace, it gives you the ability to have these final pieces that give you the option to either directly add a card from your deck to your hand, or you can send them to the graveyard and get more advantage that way. And in this case, we're actually going to send our big Nether Skull Dragon, the 5,000 attack, 5,000 defense, and this can't be normal summon set, must be special summoned from your hand or graveyard by shuffling 5 other Memento monsters with different names from your hand and or graveyard into the deck or extra deck. And if you control no other monsters, this card can attack all monsters once each. Once per turn, if your opponent activates a card or effect, except during the damage step, you can special summon one Memento monster from your hand or graveyard. Then we finally have the Trap card, and this is basically just a disruption for the deck, which is pretty nice because there will be hands where when you're not starting with just one card, you're going to be able to search this off of something like Mace, or you can end up sending this to the graveyard and then have its graveyard effect if you're trying to push in for extra damage, as there are some cool OTK lines that you can do when you have the Nether Skull Dragon and stuff like that. But we're then going to continue here by shuffling 5 back from the graveyard so that we can special summon out the Nether Skull Dragon, and as I said, it's not a very strong end board at all. This is just what pure Memento is capable of, and I will be showing other ways to play with the deck and create stronger end boards. So for this second combo, we'll be starting with Fairy Witch this time around, and I just want to show that you can do it again with one card, as long as you know the order that you have to go about your stuff, and really it comes down to knowing if you want to use Mace or Goblin. So we're going to then send the same stuff that we sent before, the Goblin, the Mace, and the Good Witch, or the Fairy Witch, and then we're going to use the effect of the Fairy Witch on field to get back the Goblin, Goblin, and when you start with a lower count like this, where we started with the Fairy Witch instead of the Darkblade giving us one less name, you want to go for the Goblin so that you can get that extra Memento name into the graveyard so that you can special summon the Nether Skull Dragon from the graveyard, and then you can end your turn on this. It's also cool because this time around we do have the Memento in the graveyard for its special summon, so keep in mind there will be times where what you do varies. In the last combo, I sent a trap because I wanted to show that was something that you can do, but in this particular combo, we actually have the setup for the Memento on field effect. Now, for this next combo, I want to show off Bone Party, and this is really just branded opening, except you destroy a Memento monster, and then its graveyard effect is that you banish it from your graveyard, then target one Memento monster you control. If it attacks a defense position monster, this turn inflict piercing damage to your opponent. So again, just a way to try and cheese out OTKs, but we're going to pop any Memento card. It doesn't matter which one you have as long as you can activate it. And then we're going to use the effect of our Fairy Witch to get our Darkblade, and then we can normal summon the Darkblade, use its effect on field, which will destroy itself. You want to keep the Fairy Witch on board for its revival effect, and then we're going to use the effect of Goblin. This will be able to send ourselves two names as we send the Mace and the Nether Skull, and then we're going to use the effect of the Good Witch or the Fairy Witch for the Mace, and then we're going to use the effect of the Mace, and this will give us the ability to get ourselves the Fracture Downs to get that pop on our opponent's turn, and because we have the Nether Skull Dragon, we'll actually be able to get 2 destroys off of this effect, which is pretty nice, and we're then going to shuffle back our cards from the graveyard into the deck as we'll special summon out the Nether Skull Dragon. Unfortunately, there is no Memento monster in the graveyard, which means that we can't use its effect, but again, this is just one of the weaknesses that the deck has, and something that we can maybe expect improvement upon with more support down the line. Now, this next combo shows the first of 2 options that you can take the deck. There is also the Runic version, but I don't want to spend too much time on that since this is kind of like an OTK deck, and if you really want to make those graveyard effects and stuff really go off with the Nether Skull Dragon, then you may not want to play Runic. That said, it is an option. So this is just another one that we have where you go into your Memento plays. You want to use the Memento stuff first because of the Zebra. The Zebra reads that if you control no face-up monsters or if they're only Memento monsters, you can special summon them. So if you activate Branded Fusion first, unfortunately you're not able to continue your Memento plays from there unless you have the hand that allows you to do so. So we're going to then use the Fairy Witch to get back our Goblin, use the Goblin, which will be able to send ourselves the Fracture Downs and the Nether Skull. We'll then summon out the Nether Skull from our graveyard, as we'll then activate the Branded Fusion, and like this, we're just able to end on a quote-unquote stronger board, and this also gives us the ability to send any Memento monster from our deck to the graveyard, as I did show that we just sent the Zebra off of it. We already have the Fairy Witch in the graveyard, but this just shows that even without going into Albion or Lubellion, when most of your cards are dark or light, like the Darkblade and the Mace, which is a light, and stuff like that, you can still go into your Lindworm, and we'll end our turn on this. Now, for the final one, we have Horus, and this is the big change compared to the last video that I didn't show. While I say big change, the only thing that you're really adding is rank 8 access, as we're going to start here by normal summoning the Darkblade. We'll then be able to special summon out the Fairy Witch, use the effect of the Fairy Witch in order to get ourselves the Zebra, use the effect of the Zebra, and then we'll use the effect of the Zebra so that we can get ourselves the sends for the Mace, Goblin, and the extra Fairy Witch. So now we'll get back the Mace off of the Fairy Witch, and this is where our combo is going to change from previous ones, where normally we would be sending out Nether Skull Dragon. The cool thing about this particular one is that because we are playing the Horus stuff, we can get our Memento Trihorn, and then we'll use the effect of the Horus cards to get us into that level 8 access, and with the Horn Dragon in our hand, that we can special summon because we have 3 or more Memento monsters in the graveyard with different names. It means that we can make a Coach King play. You can go into any other rank 8 play that you would like to go to, as we're going to get ourselves the 3 draws, and from here we can end our turn on this. But this just shows the different options that you can go for and things that you may want to consider into into deck building, as there is not a lot that this deck does on its own, so you have to use outside engines like this in order to make it a little bit stronger, in my opinion. So again, not a lot of combos, not a lot to show, especially with the previous video, unfortunately covering kind of everything, but I haven't really changed much in this list compared to the last one, except I did add in the droplets for the drolls, and I really would like to show off the Memento Horus list a little bit more, so I'm just going to flash this here so people can check out the cards themselves if they want to try the deck on their own. They have everything here that they can pause, and these are just side deck options that we do have. The field spell is an option that you can play, which enables kind of cute options within games that you wouldn't have available without the field spell. That said, you're not really heavy link spamming with this archetype, and your main goal is to either get the Horn Dragon for the Horus stuff or the Nether Skull Dragon, so that's exactly why you kind of don't see the field spell in there. And then the same thing with the Boneback. I just think that the Boneback would be a lot better if the Memento monsters did something during our opponent's turn because of its graveyard effect. But you can banish this card, special summon as many Memento monsters as possible with different names from your hand and or deck. But keep in mind, in order to get that effect off, your opponent has to move a Memento monsters out of your graveyard. So onto the Horus version, and you'll notice that all I had to do was take out the branded fusion stuff and then put in the Horus stuff. Then there's extra deck space that is allocated to your Exceed monsters instead of the branded fusion stuff, and then you can put extra link monsters for whatever other things that you may not want to keep in the deck, or just stuff that you may want to add. For example, you can always do the Reprodokus into the link decoder line, and then go into your Heat Soul that way, as it does give you the potential to draw even more cards. So that's just an option that you have available to you. Outside of that, there isn't really much to cover in this deck profile. You play 3 of everything because they're all really consistency pieces. The Mace plus the opening, or the Memento Bone Party, is the same type of combo that you really get off of Dark Blade and Fairy Witch. How you construct your combos depend on whether you're playing the Horus stuff or whether you're playing the Branded Fusion stuff. You're normally going for your Nether Skull Dragon, but as stated, if you're playing Horus and you do have Imseti, then you can go for the Horn Dragon. If you're really feeling daring, you can try both versions in one deck. I would like to point out that the 1-1-1-1 here is all meant to be options that you can play. You don't have to play any of these ratios as they are. They're just meant to show the things that you may want to play alongside Crossout, or if you take out the Crossout in general, the options that you may want to play in your main deck instead. And of course, there's always things like Thrust, Talents, along with Board Breakers that you can play as well. There can be only one, which is a nice floodgate for the archetype. Outside of that, I'm just going to get onto the card by card, as I really don't have much else to say that I didn't cover in the last video, and this being such a straightforward deck. So we have the 3 Mace, the 3 Fairy Witch, the 3 Dark Blade, the 3 Memento Bone Party, the 1 Happy, the 3 Imseti, the 1 Rhoda, the 3 Branded Fusion, Horn Dragon, Goblin, the 2 Albaz, the 1 Memento Nether Skull, the 3 level 5s, I forget the name of it, and then we have 3 Ash Blossom or 3 Veiler, 3 Crow, whichever you want to play. Then we have the 3 Droplets, we have the 1 Called By, and the 2 Crossouts, which again, you don't need to play this if you don't want to. And then we have the Imperm, we have the Fracture Dance, and we also have the King Sarcophagus to round out the main deck. To the extra deck, we have the Lindworm, the Albion, the Lubellion, the 2 Mirror Jades, and this is one kind of awkward thing about playing both versions in one. It's the fact that all your extra deck space is kind of eaten up by these 2 engines, the Horus and the Albaz stuff, and then you have a low link count, which also doesn't really matter, but it's just that the Albaz stuff takes so much with the Exceed stuff that it can make it feel like a lot. But we then also have the Dingirsu, the Photon Lord, the number 38, Coach King, Zeus, Typhon, SP, Dark, Unicorn, and Underworld Goddess to round out the deck profile. Also be doing this card by card just because I know that I didn't cover it in the previous one, and we have the 3 Mace, the 3 Fairy Witch, the 3 Dark Blade, the 3 Bone Party, the 1 Fracture Dance, the 1 Rhoda, the one horned dragon, the nether skull, the 3 zebras, the goblin, the happy, the king sarcophagus, the 3 imseti, the there can be only ones, the 3 imperms, the 1 called by 2 crossout, the 3 droplets, the 3 ash to round out the main deck. Onto the extra deck we have the Dingirsu, the Photon Lord, Hope. We then have Coach King, Zeus, Typhon, SP, IP. We then have our Charmer package, and this is something that, again, you can do the Heat Soul package if you would like to. And then we have the Nightmare Unicorn, we have the access code, Avramax, along with Underworld Goddess to round out the deck profiles. So for everyone who's made it this far, I'd like to thank you for watching and for the 600 plus subs. I truly appreciate your support. Now that we've monetized the channel, giving us access to supers and memberships means that more awesome stuff is on the horizon. To get the channel membership, just click on the description below, and there will be a link that takes you there. You'll also notice a free Discord link that I've made for us too. If you want to support me as a content creator, even if you can't donate supers or get a membership for the channel, clicking on those thumbs up and subscribe buttons help a lot too. For those wondering, I do plan on making updates to the channel as the support on the channel grows. Anyways, I hope to see you on the next one. It's Bones, signing out.